Welcome to the Indie Author Showcase, the podcast by indie authors for indie authors. Speaking of indie authors, let's get into a little bit of a news. A couple weeks ago, we reviewed or showcased Plain Princess Jane by Jennifer Milne, and a few weeks after that, we announced that she won the Indie Brag Medallion. Well, we're pleased to announce that she has recently won the Purple Dragonfly Book Award. I will admit, I'm not too familiar with that award, but like I said, when it comes to my own awards, an award's an award. Are they big awards? They're awards. Shut up. But I believe this is like her third or fourth now. So she's starting to rack up the wins for this book. I think she's also won like a Mom's Choice Award, which is I did look this one up a while ago. This one is geared for, like middle-aged school type age group books. So Jennifer is really racking up the wins with this book. So well done, Jennifer. And I do want to just briefly talk about the fact that when we showcase this book, we did highlight the fact that the difficulties in showcasing authors that are not in my wheelhouse. Because again, at this point, I'm doing this solo, right? I really would love to expand the net. Like, for example, if we do another young adult book, I would love to have somebody like Jennifer come in and help review it for me because she's more into that and she could speak with more authority. And maybe have her come in as a guest co-host or something like that if I have another young adult, or not even young adult, but like middle-aged school book to review. That would be great. Same thing if I have to review, say, another romance book. Maybe have Cynthia Diamond come on and give her 2 cents, because as somebody who has written paranormal romance, she has more authority on the subject than I do. But this is one of the struggles I have with the podcast, is not every one of these books are going to be in my wheelhouse. And I do want to have all of my indie brothers and sisters showcased on the podcast to get the exposure they deserve. Obviously, Jennifer Milne has written a book that is, I am not the intended audience for that book, but in spite of that, she has done an excellent job. She's not only convinced me, but she's convinced Indie Brag. She's convinced Purple Dragonfly. She's convinced the people over at Mom's Best. So she's racked up about 3 or 4 awards for this book so far that I've counted. So, she is deserving of exposure, even though I may not be the best person to do that, but I'm like the only one here. So I am extending the invitation, and I've said it before, I would love to have like some guest co-hosts for times like this. Like if I have another young adult or children's book to review, maybe have Jennifer come in and co-host and give her experience to the showcase of the author. Maybe if I'm doing another vampire book, have somebody like Raven Belasco or Scott Harper come in and give their 2 cents. If we get something more of horror erotica or something like that, have Dicey or Aaron come in and give their opinions as somebody who has written in that genre. I think that would be great, and I think that would really help balance out the diversity of what we're trying to project here on the showcase without me having to try to project myself into genres that I really don't know anything about. And again, we'll continue to work on this. I want this podcast to grow. I want it to be the place where all my indie, now not just the stuff I like to read, but everybody to come in, and the only real qualification is it's got to be indie or small press, and it's got to be good, right? And right now I'm the only gatekeeper of that, and I would love to have a little bit of help on that. So hopefully moving forward, we can start working on that. And in fact, I would actually go one step further. If any of my fellow indie authors, especially ones that I have showcased on the podcast that I know are exceptional writers, if they have a book to suggest we could review it together. One example would be if Scott Harper has another friend that's doing another vampire book or something like that, and it's like, hey, this is a really good book. Let's review it together, kind of thing. And he suggests one. That would be fantastic. I would love that. I think that would be excellent. Speaking of books of friends, I was thinking it because I was searching for another audiobook to listen to. I still have a TBR list that I am trying to get through, and getting through it is becoming even harder because, as I've mentioned before, I'm now working 2 jobs. I have even less time. So I needed something on Audible, and nothing on my TBR list was on Audible, which is point number 1 we're going to get to. So I started going, you know what? I have talked to and been on the Sex and Horror podcast with Dicey Grinner and Chantal Renee. I've reviewed one of Dicey's books. It's a good book, especially if you are into a bit of eroticism mixed in with your vampire, which vampires and eroticism kind of go together anyway. So it was a really good book. We reviewed it on a podcast. And I'm like, I had never really tried any of Chantal's books. I know Dicey a little bit better. Compared to Chantal, I know Dicey a lot better because we chat occasionally on Facebook and stuff like that. And Chantal, I've really only talked to the one time on the podcast. Really nice lady, but we haven't had a chance to talk. And I'm like, let me get to know her by trying one of her books. It seems only fair. And I started searching on Audible, and none of her books were on Audible. And I'm like, mother, fuck it. So I wanted to do my pitch for indie authors to get on Audible. And I mentioned last week when I was at Hotmare Expo, I had a similar conversation with the only other indie author that was at Hotmare Expo. And she actually had quite an array of books that she had written, and none of them are on Audible yet. And when I first got started, I actually was writing for the audiobook. Like, I did everything backwards. I was trying to make it this big CGI production. I had all the audiobook, all the dialogue recorded, and I could never get the project funded. But I had all this great voice acting that was done for the series. So when it got to the point where you could self-produce audiobooks, I converted the scripts into a book, and that was The Last Rite. And then I recorded all the narration myself, because by that point I'd spent way too much of my own money trying to get this done. And then I spliced the dialogue from the actors from the original video series that we were trying to do, and splice that into the audiobook. So it's the only one that's done by a full cast. And it was way too expensive, way too much work to continue, unfortunately. I really wanted to do that again for The Baby Eater. My plan was to go to the Philippines and record authentic Filipino voice actors for all the roles. And I figured, 1, it would be more authentic. 2, it would be way cheaper because it's the Philippines, and I might be able to afford to do it self-finance. But we never got a chance to try because then COVID hit. Philippines got locked down and everything like that. So that all went to crap. So I've been doing them myself ever since. But I want to do my pitch for and share my experience with getting the audiobooks done, because I think for an indie author, these are really great marketing opportunities. And the more platforms you can get your stuff on, the more likely somebody will pick it up. I've been to many a convention where the customer's like, I don't really read. I drive a lot. I do Audible. I don't really have time to read. My books are on Audible. Really? Right? I've had people buy it on Audible in front of me just to get it. Right? And a sale's a sale. Right? And hopefully a review is a review, and hopefully they enjoyed it. I have won 6 awards for my book so far. 4 of them have been for the audiobooks. I won Audiobook Reviewer's Choice Award twice for 2 different books, and I've won Book of the Year twice for 2 different audiobooks. So yeah, 4 of my 6 awards have been audiobook reviews. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm going to get to how it works as a marketing thing. But first, let me start by talking about my experience getting things on ACX. There's 2 major ways to get things on there. I mean, there's probably a few others, but there's 2 major ones. There is ACX, which is Amazon, which is Audible. And then there is Findaway Voices, which I believe just rebranded themselves. Yeah, I think it's now called Inaudible, or In Audio is the new name for Findaway Voices. But the main thing is something like 80% of your audiobook sales are going to be on Audible. You need to be on Audible. Period. Right? So I started my audiobook journey with ACX because at the time, it was the only game in town. You can get on Audible through either In Audio or ACX. It doesn't matter which one, right? But I will say there is an advantage to doing Audible first. So when you put it on Audible and it's an exclusive, you get a much bigger royalty share of the book that's sold. And again, 80% of your book sales are on Audible. And they will give you like 100 promo codes, both US and UK. That's one of the weird things because the promo codes for the UK and the US are different. And what I usually find is I burn through a lot of US codes and then I wind up with a bunch of UK codes that are left over. What I have found is a good strategy, and I've only done this once with The Last Rite, so you tell me if you had the experience, but put it on ACX first. Burn through all the promo codes. Then once that's done, you can take it off as an exclusive, add it to Inaudible, which is perfectly fine. All right, you can have it in both places. The only trick is when you move it to Inaudible, you take Audible and iTunes off the distribution list. And the reason why is because it's already being handled by ACX. ACX will put it on iTunes as well as obviously Audible. And then they will give you a bunch of promo codes for Spotify, so that starts all over again. The second advantage of doing that way is ACX is going to have the most stringent audio requirements of the other platforms, right? You can't have more than a certain amount of dead space. You have to be within minus 3 decibels at your peak and all this kind of stuff. So it does become a little bit of a pain to upload all your audio files and then have it go, no, your peak is too high, your floor is too low, you need to update, you pull your hair out trying to get it. But if you can get it clean enough for Audible, you're good for the other platforms. You're fine, right? So tackle the hard one first. Utilize the promo codes, hand it out to reviewers, and once you burn through all those and your sales on Audible are starting to kind of peak or peter out or something like that, then you can move it to Inaudio, aka Findaway Voices, and add a whole new set of audiences, eyes on your book. One of the big advantages of doing this with the promo codes is there is a secondary market for uploading promo codes. You pay them like a really low amount of money, like $12, to upload as many promo codes as you have. And ACX will like dolly them out in increments, right? So you can't upload all 100. It won't let you. But you'll get like 25 at a time. You'll spend $12. You throw up your 25 UK, your 25 US codes up there. And then people are just going on these websites looking for books for free, right? They grab the promo code, they listen to your book, and hopefully they leave a review. And that starts the review. Because that's the whole thing, is getting reviews, right? Otherwise, you're like me and you're going from convention to convention, convincing people in person to give your book a shot, right? We really, as an author, we need reviews, right? And that's where I struggle, because I sell books to people in person. I have gotten repeat customers going, oh man, I loved your book. This is your new one. Oh, let me check that out. I loved it. Oh my God, the ending of that was so fun. And so I'm one by one, I am getting the feedback. One by one, I am getting concurrent sales. What I am not getting is that message to the world through reviews on Goodreads or Amazon or Barnes and Noble, some of that. That's where I'm struggling, and that's where my most success in getting reviews on there was from my first audiobook, The Last Rite, and that was partly because back then they gave you even way more promo codes. Like, it was like a ridiculous amount of promo codes, and so I got way more traction. So yeah, and then the other thing I want to say, another reason why I like going through ACX, I don't know if Find Away Voices does this or not. But like, for example, our friend Scott Campbell was doing the audiobook for his book, and he was doing AI narration, which, first of all, it wasn't that good, the AI. Like, it's impressive it can do anything resembling a human being. But I was like, no, a human being can do way better, right? I had similar problems when I was doing my trailer. I didn't have a female narrator to do the lines, and I really wanted to be a female voice because the main character in the book is female. And so I tried like AI, and it came out very robotic, and it sounded like a real person, but it sounded like a person who was half asleep, really. But what I was able to do was record my own narration and then have the AI convert my voice to a... That came out really well, because it doesn't have to figure out inflection and tone. It's taking that from you. It's just translating it, your tone and cadence and everything like that from my voice to another voice. So that came out pretty well. That was impressive. But with Scott doing the AI thing, there was just times when the AI just did some really weird things. Like, there's one point where they're talking about Bambi and mispronounced Bambi is Bombi. There were times when, because the AI narrator was very, because this is a thriller book and it's really challenging, and so everything was done in this tone, even the most benign conversations. You missed breakfast. We had pancakes, that kind of thing. It was weird, right? It didn't know context. And everything was just read in that same style. And it's like, no, really, you need a human being. On top of that, ACX doesn't allow AI narration. So he was a little bit shocked when he found out that all this AI that he generated, he couldn't use. Now, I have heard that ACX may be lifting the whole AI narration problem. I don't think that's a good idea. Currently, just looking up to verify, as of the recording of this podcast, it looks like ACX still does not allow AI voices. But I did read an article saying that they were considering it. Honestly, I even if it's allowed, I wouldn't recommend it. I think it would be great if you had somebody narrating a book and then having the AI do different voices, like it did with my trailer, because you still have a human being providing the tone and the cadence and everything like that. That might be fun. I might be into that. But just handing your doc to a computer and having it read it back to you is not going to sound... You're going to get some weirdness in it. I can almost guarantee it. So, I mean, again, right now it's a moot point because it's not allowed. But what you can do is, under ACX, you can find and audition narrators for your book. And what you can do is if you do not have the money up front to pay for the narrator, you can do a royalty share program. All right. Now, I believe this is a case-by-case basis. In other words, not every narrator is going to be available to do it both ways, right? I think the narrator signs up and they'll leave like samples of their work so you know what they sound like. I think they will say, I am available for, upfront payment or royalty share or both. And so you need to kind of weed through the ones that are available to you. Point is, you can find a narrator without any money up front. And I believe they're going to price differently, and they're going to price by length of the work. So shorter books are going to be cheaper than longer books, obviously, because they require more work. But point is that if you are a struggling author, you do not have capital to create an audiobook, you really don't need it. You can go on the ACX, do a royalty share, and then now I don't know how that will affect making it a non-Audible exclusive later, so you might want to be careful about that. But point is that is an option for finding a narrator. I actually do mine myself. I am probably not the best narrator in the world, but I have gotten reviews saying that, well, he's not the worst. I've only had one review where it said that my narration ruined it for them. That he was a horrible narrator. I've only gotten that once. I've had many that said I was good, that especially when I start doing ISF and I do my characters and everything like that, well, nobody's going to know his characters more than him. I've had other reviews that said that I am passable. That's usually my worst review. There is one exception. Can't please everybody. But yeah, that actually did hurt a little bit. This would have been a good book, but this narrator ruined it. I was like, we need to do a whole thing on how to handle negative reviews. Maybe we'll do that next week. As you can see, I'm still haunted by it. But yes, it is to your benefit to get your book on Audible. Again, in audio is also a good option. You don't have to go through ACX, but I would recommend ACX first. Then when you've burned through all your promo codes and you've kind of milked Audible for all it's worth, then you can add it to in audio after that, and then start that process over again. That's my recommendation. But what are your thoughts? Have you had similar issues getting audiobooks done? Have you had a different process or a different what's the word I'm looking for? A different experience. Did you find Findaway Voices work better for you? Were you able to find a narrator through Findaway Voices? I've never tried. Is a similar option available there? I don't know. I know, for example, I believe Raven Belasco handed off the audiobook to a whole nother company, and they ran with it. What was her experience like? She talked about a little bit about that during her interview, that she was just really glad that she didn't have to deal with any of that. It is a lot of work. Trust me. I'm still trying to finish Fear. I have 3 chapters left to re-record. It was supposed to be 2, but one of them didn't come. One of my redos need to be redone on top of everything else. So 3 more chapters to go, and then a little bit of fix up, and then this book might actually get done in about a month or 2. Oh my God, it's taking forever. It's amazing how much work an audiobook is when half your recordings are foobarred and you have no time to work on it. Who knew? Speaking of audiobooks, let's get into this week's review. Sorry, I keep saying review. They're really not reviews. I showcase them. I don't review them. Right? This is not a review. This is a showcase. Let me grab it here because I had it up, I swear to There we go. The Little Season by S.C. Mendes. I think I first heard about this on like an Instagram post or something like that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. And I found it on Audible. I was like, okay, I'll burn a credit and check this out. And to my surprise, it was narrated by John Wayne Coleman. One of these days, I will learn to pronounce his last name. I swear to God. John Wayne Coleman, who we awarded Book of the Year last year for his book, As Seen on TV. So I was a little shocked and a little happy to hear John's voice. And trust me, with a name like that, it's not like you're getting two John Smiths. It's like, no, this is him. There's no other John Wayne Coleman in the world. I can guarantee you that. So he did a wonderful job narrating. I will say, I did enjoy the book. I will say, it did subvert expectations at the end. I felt like it kind of petered out. Like it was going for this big, huge crescendo, and then it just went, but everything's okay. And I'm like, and I was waiting for like the next big twist. Like, oh, he's going to find out that they're really evil, or he's going to find out, or he's going to turn to the dark side and he's going to become evil, and or some big, huge reveal at the end. And we really didn't get that. And I did find that a little disappointing, but on the other side of that coin, I'm like, but at least I didn't expect it. There was no M. Night Shyamalan type twist at the end. It just went, okay, we're done. And not to imply that I'm trying to not spoil the ending, right? It's kind of hard to talk about how the ending didn't work for me, or, well, I shouldn't say it didn't work. It did work. It was just anticlimactic. But I'm trying to explain how without spoiling the book, but it was a little bit like imagine Return of the Jedi, and Luke is struggling to decide whether or not he's going to face Vader. Then he makes a decision to face Vader, and then they get up on the Death Star and he's facing Vader, and then as the rebels are fighting and they're dying outside, and the Emperor's like, yes, this battle station is operational. You and your friends will lose. And at that point, Luke and Vader goes, this guy's a jerk. Let's get out of here. You want to get a beer? Yeah, let's go get a beer. And they walk off. The Emperor's like, what? Wait, no, you're my apprentice. I want your son as my apprentice. Kill each other. And they're like, I'm not feeling it. Are you feeling it? No, I'm not feeling it. Okay, let's go down to the bar. This battle station's about ready to get blown up. Yeah, I got some Ewoks buddies downstairs. I got some really great brewskis. Let's go and head on down there. And that's how the movie ends. That was like the book to me, right? Like it is this big, huge, beautiful build up. There's some wonderful nightmare scenes, gruesome and horrible and everything like that. And I don't know if the author was trying to say that the main character drank the Kool-Aid and just sort of went along with it, kind of like he was sold, or if this thing he's investigating turned out to be not really what he thought it was that it is pitched in the book. I'm not sure which the author is trying to sell. I think it would have been a little more interesting if we did have that kind of he drank the Kool-Aid moment. But it did make everything seem like, yeah, no, everything's fine. This is good. Kool-Aid is this wonderful flavor Kool-Aid. You should try some. It's great. No, everything's fine. Okay. So, yeah. Up until then, I was really kind of hooked on the thing. I liked what was going. It was doing this really interesting thing with food, right? And some of the religious implications. God, still healing. Still not quite right. Still got all this numbness up in here. Still cannot quite talk right. There's all this religious implications of food and how that's been used in the past and everything like that. So I did find the book really fascinating. I'm just not sure it stuck the landing. It's my only critique of the thing. But I recommend it. I say give it a shot. And it's definitely well narrated by our good friend John Wayne Commonell. So definitely check it out. Again, that is The Little Season by S.C. Mendes. With that, real quick, let me give you a quick update on how I am healing, because I did just mention that my lips still not working. I am getting a lot better. There is still some swelling, right in here, and this is still a little bit on the swollen, sore, not quite getting all the phonemes that I wanted to hit kind of thing. So when I'm doing the audiobook, I'm still struggling to get my mouth to work the way I want it to do. I'm now walking around without crutches or cane. My knee is still swollen, but the swelling has gone down quite a bit. I am hoping I might actually be back to normal by Creep IE Aftermath, which will be September 5th through 7th. And if you use promo code Spectral, you will get $5 off your single day admission to Creep IE Aftermath. And I think that's going to be really important this time around, because as I mentioned before, when I talked to Elliot over at Monsterpalooza, he said he saw a shift from multi-day passes to single-day passes because more and more people are being hit by this economy and they're trying to save a buck. So instead of going there for the entire convention, they're picking and choosing the specific day that they want to go the most. So single-day passes, I think, are going to be way bigger sellers than they have been in the past because of this. So if you want to save even more money, use promo code Spectral, get $5 off that one-day admission, come see me at my booth, show me that you follow the podcast, or that you follow me on Instagram, or TikTok, or Facebook, or do you subscribe to my newsletter from shopspectralink.com. Show me my old MySpace profile page. I don't care. Just show that you are following me. And you will receive an additional, I believe it's a 5% discount from any of your purchases at my booth. On top of that, just to bring home the point that it's promo code Spectral to get your $5 off single day admission at Creep IE. Up until the day of the convention, you can use promo code Spectral at shopspectralink.com to get 30% off of any horror merch from our store. In fact, technically, you can use that for the books because I couldn't figure out how to exclude the books. It wouldn't let me. So you can actually order the books, use the promo code. I'm taking a loss on that, to be honest. Don't tell anybody. You'll hurt me. But yes, if you want your Last Rite beach towel or your Fear t-shirt or your Baby Eater bikini, you name it. All of our stuff is done through Printful, and I have a ball just going through Printful, looking at all the different products and seeing how I can throw my book cover onto it. I have suitcases. I have soda cozies to keep your soda cool. T-shirts galore. I have t-shirts, crop tops, hoodies, sweaters, you name it. You can have you can walk around with the Mononagal on your chest or show off that you've read the latest book, Fear. Doesn't matter. It is up there. Have fun shopping. Get 30% off. Shipping is free. It's included in the price. So there's no surprise upcharge at the end. Just the tax. Bada bing, bada boom. 30% off if you use promo code Spectral until September 4th. And then I will see you at Creep I Eat. That's the deal, folks. And again, that is a great way to support this podcast. If you want to help out the podcast, first thing you can do is like and share. Say, I like this podcast. I'm sharing it to my friends. Let everybody know it's here. Again, the point of this podcast is to support the indie community. So the more that you're sharing this podcast, the more you are supporting not only myself, but other indie authors, right? Because again, every week I am reviewing a new indie author. I am showcasing a new indie author. Second thing you could do is you can go to our Patreon. We actually have a Patreon. I believe it's podbean.com, patreon.podbean.com/indie author showcase. You can be a Patreon member. Last thing you can do, go to Shop Spectral Inc. and you can buy any of our merch. As I mentioned, if you buy the horror related merch, you can use promo code Spectral. Promo code Spectral. I am going to get my mouth to work eventually. Promo code Spectral for any of your horror related merch, but we got more on there. We got merch for the Indie Author Showcase. We have merch for our sci-fi comedy, Intergalactic Space Force, which gets no love, I swear. It is the redheaded stepchild of our website, I swear to God. But yeah, go on the website, order some of the merch. That supports us, and that's going to help pay for the hosting fees and for our next conventions. And, you know, maybe if I get enough buy-in and sponsors and whatever, I can actually quit driving Uber. You never know. I dare to dream. But until